Okay, so in this little video, what we're going to do is show you how to modify a drawing that has an error in it that we find during the assembly process. This is one of the ways that using an assembly in a program like Inventor or SOLIDWORKS saves us not only time but also money in the research and development phase of a manufacturing process. It would cost me a lot of money to go in and build each of these parts, and only to find out that the axle doesn't quite fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this in a view here, and I'm going to move into the axle drawing itself. So I'm just going to come over and select my axle, and here's my axle drawing. And from the axle drawing I can see there's a few things that I probably want to make some adjustments to. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to go into the extrusion here and check on the length of extrusion. And my extrusion is at 3 inches, which is the length in which we're shooting for, or which was designed to be. So I verify that that size has been done, and this extrusion on this axle was done using a mid-plane extrusion with the sketch in the center. So then I'm going to check the second extrusion here, and I'm looking for a value of 1.5 inches. And as I look on there, that value is there, and yet we're still not quite getting the value that we intended to. So that means if my axle is done correctly, then there must be an error in the drawing of our axle, or the wheel, excuse me. There must be an error in our wheel drawing. So what we've got to do is go back and look and find out where that error would have occurred and fix that. And so I'm looking at the drawing. I think we're probably going to be okay and find that. So let me just go and close this down. I do want to show you a change here. I've got a chamfer right here, and this chamfer is set to the drawing requirements of here, and the drawing requirements that you have in your drawing show this as being 1/4 inch on that 45 degree, which would look like this, which is a very tight fit. So I'm going to edit that down a second time from what I had it at being 1/8 inch. I'm going to change that to 1/16. And so we get a little bit smaller chamfer on there, which is more probably proportionate to what they have here. So I've made this change. Let's save that. And from there we're going to move back into our assembly that we're working on. So I go back to my window pull down, or I can pick on the windows, but I'm going to go right down to my assembly. And it brings me a prompt up that says, do you want to keep this? And I've got to hurry, or it's going to kick me out. So I say yes, I want to make those changes, and my chamfer has been changed. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is then go and look at the wheel drawing. The wheel drawing may be the problem that we're looking at. So let's now, the same thing, go with my windows pull down and go to my wheel, and I can do that quickly because that's open. And I'm going to go in this time to a sketch mode. So here's my revolve, and it's in a thin mode, which is fine. I'm going to expand that out, and there's my sketch. Right click and edit that sketch, and I'm going to angle that so I can look at the numbers involved there. And I check that with what should be happening in my drawing. I notice that I do have some dimensions on here, which is wonderfully nice, and so that value is in place. And I notice that that value here is not the same here. So let's place a dimension on the top of 1.5, and that's going to cause me to be a little over constrained, and that's okay. We're going to take and clear that up here shortly, find out why that's constraining in such a way. But we have down here, this inside piece should have only been 1 3/8. So I'm going to change that dimension here to 1.375 and check that part off. And that's a shift there. And I need to look and see what I can do. Now, if you notice, there's some dotted line action going on here where things have been made to be constrained together. They're lined up and they're forcing these two values to stay equal. So what I want to do is take that value out, and I want to change these. Now these are set because offsets were used on this drawing to create it. And I need to break those offset points apart And so let's take a look at these little constraints. They can be deleted, so I'm going to turn my smart dimension off, come in here and remove those constraints on either side. And then we'll go through here and see if we can get that to be a little bit more cooperative as we work it through here. One of the things that we can do on this is fix that size. So my inside value is 1 and 3/7, my outside is 1.5, which is this value for this line here. And it's still going to give you a little fight with it. But there we go. Now I forced that out, and I see right here where my problem is with this line and this line here. So let's go ahead and remove those two constraints, and we'll go ahead and clean this up nice and pretty, because they're tied down in a way that keeps things from being the way we want them to be. So now that I've removed those two constraints, I'm going to go ahead and take this value here and then force it to be vertical and put it in that position. And I do need to make sure that these lines are spaced equally, because I want to still stay centered. So I'm using my smart dimension from the center line to this line, and that value should be, again, we're going to make it driven here. Let's go ahead and see if we can figure out what else is holding us down on that point as we're working through here. And sometimes we get a little bit too many constraints on a drawing as we work through it. And so I'm just looking at my constraints real quick and seeing what can and can't change. Turn those dimensions off and look at some lines. And we have a line that's our axis of rotation there. And you notice it's doing things that are a little odd there. So let's go ahead and take and see if we can't clean that up just a wee bit. What I want to have happen, this size is here is correct, this size is not. So I need to, there's my little missing line right there. I use a little trim at quality here and trim that out, so we don't have that piece stuck in there holding things down. We'll try a dimension again. Still wants to be constrained. I'm going to go ahead and leave that in there for right now, so we can tell if we find out where our constraints are holding us. And it looks to be that we might be needing to get rid of that line right there. This nice little line here is being a little stubborn. We'll take out that dimension again, because we have a line there already. So let me just go ahead and take that one out as well. And these center lines were just there to hold place, and that's fine. They do that well. Let's go ahead and lock this together. And find out why we're shifting so strangely on this. Let's go look at this revolve real quick. And see we're going two directions on here at once, and we don't really want to be going two directions. So let's go in and we're going to do a fix here on this extrusion here. It's trying to revolve in more than one direction. So the easiest fix to get that out of the road is we just need to delete that whole revolve and take that out. That's also take out the fillets of revolve. Then I'm going to go back into Sketch, because now I'm not constrained as much with it. Do a quick see if I can get these smart dimensions to cooperate with me. So we're holding this one and this one. Not yet. Okay, so what we got to do is figure out why we're tied down as we are, and it may just be that we need to do a little quick redraw here on that. So let's try to go in the other direction and see if that will give us some flexibility on that. And it seems to be wanting to. It's going the wrong direction. So again, line to line. Gotta get it constrained. So I'm going to go ahead and take off these constraints because they're pulling us back just a little bit. So these are made equal. So what I'm going to do is just delete those out. And again, your drawing should be working fine. I just want to show you the edits that need to take place. And we're taking these out so we can do the modifying that we need to. And we can always put them back in as that happens. So let's go ahead and do our next smart one more time. And what we'll find is we're going to put that value in again on this one of 0.75. And there we have another line that we're looking at. So we found the line that's causing our issue, and that's what we want to fix. Here. And it's still being constrained. So we have to change that. Let me go ahead and come back and fix this in a second.